Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau parades around as the most progressive, the most generous man in the world. He's invited any and all refugees to come to Canada and then turned a blind eye to illegal immigration. Of course, there are all kinds of problems with having unscreened and unvetted migrants arriving in Canada every day unannounced. One of the problems is the cost associated with trying to remove a migrant who has been rejected as a refugee, but who refuses to leave Canada. According to a recent report from Canada's most left-wing newspaper, the Toronto Star, in 2016, there were 6,596 migrants being detained in prisons across Canada. The same report calculated the high cost to Canadian taxpayers, who are on the hook for more than $58 million annually for this detention program to detain dangerous, illegal, and rejected migrants. That works out to about $250 per detainee per day. Honestly, we would be better off shipping these foreign detainees to an all-inclusive resort somewhere. Now, of the nearly 7,000 foreigners being held, the longest held is a man named Abraham Toure. Toure is a failed asylum claimant from the Gambia. He's been held in a maximum security Canadian prison since February 2013. Toure came to Canada illegally with fake documents, and his asylum claim was ultimately rejected by a Canadian immigration judge. It was determined that this man did not face a well-founded fear of persecution and that he was not in need of Canada's protection. But there's a problem. Since he came to Canada using fake documents, as so many asylum seekers do, he doesn't have any real identity documents with him. He's either lost them or destroyed them. He doesn't have his real paperwork. And without any identification documents, he can't actually prove that he's a citizen of another country, and therefore Canada cannot deport him anywhere. No one will take him back. And he also refuses to cooperate with his deportation order. Toure told the Star that he wants to go back to West Africa, but at the same time he refuses to cooperate with Canadian authorities. We've asked him for a DNA sample to confirm his real identity so that we can look up his real records in the Gambia, if they actually exist. So the real question here becomes, why does this man refuse to cooperate? Is he trying to hide his real identity? Perhaps along with a past criminal record. Is there a past affiliation with a terrorist group? Or perhaps he's wanted for an international crime or a war crime. We just don't know. And because we don't know, we're stuck with him. We can't detain him forever. As his taxpayer-funded lawyers point out, that's counter to our rule of law in Canada. It's counter to habeas corpus, the principle in common law that the government cannot detain a person indefinitely. The government lawyers know that eventually he'll be released, and he'll probably get to stay in Canada. That's the problem with our bleeding heart system and our open borders attitude. Everyone on Canadian soil gets access to all the rights and all the privileges of the Charter on Rights and Freedoms and of Canadian citizenship, even if you lie and cheat to get onto Canadian soil. Foreigners get to take advantage of these legal loopholes. They get to jump the immigration queue and even bypass the ruling of Canadian immigration judges. And because Trudeau prioritizes the rights and privileges of foreign criminals ahead of the safety and security of Canadians, this is going to continue. Trudeau's willing to sacrifice the integrity of our immigration system in exchange for the praise of fellow global citizens on the world stage. For the Rebel Media, I'm Candace Malcolm.